Are you surprised that so many years have gone by and no one's been charged?
Well, you know, I've been practicing law now for about 34 years, and as I recall, the Pacific there are, you know, some crimes sometimes take a long time to be resolved. I'm an advocate. I watch forensic files a lot on television, on the ID channel, and sometimes cases quite similar to this type case where is a crime that seems to be in the family to some extent. Some mistakes were made early on. But I still do have a belief, though, that it will be resolved. There's no statute of limitation. And sometimes we're hoping that kinder hearts would maybe cause someone who knows more about the facts to come forward. Yes, it's been a long time, but you know, I still have this great belief that the Justin Turner case would one day be resolved.
Do you believe the person who is really responsible is still alive?
Well, it could be possible. In other words, I have my suspicions in relationship who I think the active participant may have been, and if they are still alive, then it would be my position that yes, but not keeping abreast of their activities, not keeping abreast of their lives, I can't say for a fact that they're still living. But you know, sometimes cases are even solved after the person who perpetrated the crime is deceased, so there's still that possibility of the case being resolved.
Early on in this case, you know, he disappeared March 3rd, found 2 days later. You know, what do you think went wrong to screw up this investigation?
Well, we've learned now that within the first 24 hours or 48 hours is very critical to any homicide, any investigation involving a crime. A lot of things are lost, a lot of things are overlooked, and sometimes mistakes are made. I think in this instance, sometimes we phantom, sometimes when crimes occur, we may bring our biases and stereotypes as to who we think the actual perpetrator is, and so sometimes we may not be as doggedly as we need to be. But sometimes we've learned over the years, though, that most families, sometimes you always look within the crest of the family for something that may have went wrong. I think some things went wrong. Early on, I think the liquidity was one issue about his body being in a position for a long period of time, which would have suggested that he had actually never been moved from the location when we were thinking maybe he had been transported away from the location and brought back. Those are the kind of issues I think that initially caused tremendous problems with the eventual prosecution of the case.
Now, there was this inquest, and the stepmother was initially charged for Justin's, death. Do you feel comfortable with that decision to not go ahead with the charges?
Well, I've always took the position, you know, on our system there's something called double jeopardy. We can't try cases on the whim of what we hope the facts to be. At the close of the day, every citizen who's charged with offense, even the stepmother, is innocent until proven guilty, and the burden is on the state of South Carolina to prove her guilt or his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. It's not a light burden, it's a very substantial burden. So it would be my position that, yes, I still concur with the decision not to prosecute based on what I recall of the weak evidence in the case.
Anything else you think is worth mentioning about this case?
Well, it's just that justice is slow. And I pray that eventually this case will be resolved.